welcome back to the Fortitude podcast. We are your hosts, Sarah and
Micah.
Hey, and today we have an awesome guest with us. We have Melissa Russell, who is the president of Charity Water. Now, this is an organization that we just found out about. A friend of ours just told us about it, and we were shocked and appalled that we hadn't heard of it. So they're doing amazing work when it comes to water access. So we can't wait to just hear from her, some of her story, as well as some of the mission behind Charity Water. So thank you so much for being here with us, Melissa.
Thanks, guys. I'm super happy to be with you both. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. How long have you been with Charity Water?
You know, I've been with Charity Water a little bit over a year, so about 14 months, and have been in the international development space, nearly 20 years, but with Charity Water, just over a year. Yeah, and It's been wonderful. It's been a great space to be.
How did that start? And for those who don't know, we literally found out about this only a few months ago, and it's one of my favorite places to donate now. It's kind of our number one charity that we're donating to at the moment, and so and we love it, and I think it's very unique, like the model and like what you guys do is super impactful. And so kind of chat about like what Charity Water is, how did you even come about starting it?
Absolutely. So Charity Water brings clean and safe water to people around the world. And I would say, you know, if you were thinking about like what is the most basic need in the world, it's water. And 700 million people do not have access to clean and safe drinking water. And for me, that my deep passion and where I've spent a lot of my space is how do you protect vulnerable people, particularly women and girls, because that is who is most vulnerable in spaces around the world. And so what water does, especially for women and girls, helps provide, it helps on health, it helps on education, because women and girls today, just today alone, will spend 200 million hours collectively getting water. So it's taking them out of school and family, and it's also putting them on a lot of isolated paths. So my background is violence against women and children. And anytime in these places you put women and girls on an isolated path, violence, particularly sexual violence, will occur. And so water is health, it's education, it's safety, it's all rolled into one. And so Charity Water, we're solution agnostic, you know, like it can be a well, it can be a pipe system, whatever works in the spaces where we go is the solution that we bring. And I love it. And I love our donors because we do have an interesting model.
Yeah. Because I think what drew me to it is that we get it, like after we donate, we get a email basically saying what the money is going towards, which I appreciate because I'm not typically a pessimist, but I've just, heard stories about charities that, not all the money is going towards the things that they're saying is happening. And so,
or you just kind of feel like your trust is going somewhere good, but you feel like kind of donating into a vacuum where it's like,
you just don't know.
What am I contributing towards exactly? And so
I just really appreciated that, and knowing that the money is going towards the things that you're saying you're going to that you're going to do, and I think that's such a great business model and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so Scott Harrison, who is our founder and still sort of current CEO, really focused on high vision and creativity, really started this model nearly 20 years ago. And it really was because, hey, we want to invite people into the philanthropy space. We want people to be able to accomplish good things. What's one of the barriers to that? And it's just exactly what Sarah said, which is we're just not sure exactly where the money is going. So we have two bank accounts. We have one, because all nonprofits have operational expenses. That's how you make it happen. Yeah. You have to have the people to help do the project design and engage with our partners on the ground. That's an operational expense. But for people, especially giving on our public platforms, it all only goes to water. So it only goes to the actual development and execution of the water project. And so for us, we've got two bank accounts, and that allows for that sort of radical transparency for our operational donors. They know exactly what we're spending money on strategically, operationally. We've got a separate set of donors over here called The Well. It's 135 families that sort of fund that work. And then for everyone else who gives to water, we're able to literally show this is exactly where where your money is going. Here's the points around the world, the water points that we're working on, and you get to see it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Great, which is great. It's a radical transparency, super innovative, for really the most basic need around the world, the most basic need that has a tremendous impact. So
That we all take for granted. I mean, especially,
in America.
here in America, it's so easy to just not even, when it's not a need, you don't think about it. It's like breathing air and having oxygen at your will. And then once you realize that that's not the case for everybody, it's just kind of eye-opening, where it's like, wow. What were you about to say?
I was going to ask how, so you were in this space, but not with Charity Water for the past, do you say 20 years you've been doing like kind of international work?
Yep. So prior to that, I was with International Justice Mission for a very long time, which is a wonderful organization, and it helps protect primarily women and girls against violence, sex trafficking, bonded slave labor, sexual assault around the world, and spent a lot of the overlapping countries where Charity Water works, and that's where I was before.
Yeah. Where did your passion and purpose for this kind of work come from? Was that always something that you knew you were going to be involved in? Was it a surprise? Where did that start?
Oh, great. Have y'all done much work with the Enneagram? Have y'all done your Enneagram?
No,
Actually, not
we
Enneagram.
really should, because we love stuff like that, and we're like big into temperament, but no, we have not done Enneagram.
So there's a variety of how are your personality, how are you driven? I am an 8. What is an 8 on the Enneagram? And the 8 on the Enneagram is a bit of a challenger, and also super driven by justice. So I think for me, and again, this could play out in a variety of spaces. It doesn't just have to be in the nonprofit space. But for me, it has played out. It's played out in the international space, and particularly around women and girls. And so there's just something in me that when I hear about about something that's totally solvable. Again, that's what I do love about water. A lot of things we don't know how to fix.
Yeah.
This is not one of them. So if you wanted to be like, what's something in the way in which if the world feels out of control, what's one thing I can do? You can totally solve water. Just we got to fix for that. We just need more people into the movement. And so for me, when you see something, you're like, there's a great fix for this, and I get to be a part of it and use my gifts and skills and abilities toward that end. It feels pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a tangible thing too, where it's like, and it's in your control. It's something that's solvable.
Yep.
It's just you just needing the resources to do it, basically.
Do it.
So can you, I think you explained kind of generally, but can you explain just like a little bit more specifically what you guys do, like with the money, and like where you go when it comes to where you're like making these water wells and things like that? Where are like the locations, and how do you even go about doing it? Do you have a team that you then give money to, and then they go and build the wells? Like, how's it all work?
Yeah, we work in 22 countries. We work with partners on the ground. And so one of the great things about Charity Water is it's very contextualized. So we are working with local partners that know the language, that know the system, that know the culture. And so it's not from an efficiency use of money. We don't have these operations set up in every 22 countries that we work with. We work with on the ground partners. And we have a program design team. And so we focus only on rural. So there are certainly organizations that, have a focus on urban. We really focus where the problem is the worst, which is in the rural areas, and where our model works, and you can do the most with the money that you're entrusting. And so again, it will look different depending on the needed solution. But you go in on the ground, partners you're working with the community, and you're scoping out what's the best way to bring clean and safe water to this community. Sometimes it's a piped system, so you can actually build a pipe system. Sometimes it's a water pump. Our team program designs with the local partners to try to, and here's one of the things that I'm most passionate about, is that it works, and it works for a long time. I will tell you, so many of our beneficiaries on the ground will say water is hope. So you have brought water to our community. if you have brought clean, safe drinking water for my children, they're not going to get sick. I'm going to get to go to school. I feel safer. And if you build that and then 18 months later it breaks, you have given hope and then you have snatched it away. And so
Yeah.
so much of what our team works on is making sure not just that we bring it, but that it's sustainable. And when you're building a sustainable water project, that's everything from how are you designing it based on where it is, how are you going to maintain it, and then even making sure, because these are moving parts and moving parts break. And so when they do break, what's the solution to help come in and repair it? And so Charity Water is at every step of that sort of program design to provide that. And then we work with our partners to implement it on the ground. And so we spend a lot of time over there with them. We spend a lot of time here making sure that it's all being designed in the most efficient and effective way, and making sure our donor dollars, we're doing a good job reporting back to our donors what has been accomplished.
This is sort of on a different subject, but or maybe a little bit tangential. But I was like, in hearing you describe that, I think there's so many people out there who are like, man, I would love to do something impactful. I would love to do something that was really helpful to people, but where the heck do I start in being able to like use, whether it's my time, whether it's my money, in a way that is helpful? Because it can feel like when you're just one person, it can feel you can feel insignificant, and like maybe your few dollars that you can give or your couple of hours that you can invest aren't worth it. So what would you say to someone who's kind of maybe in that headspace?
Oh my gosh, it costs $40 to bring water to a single person for a whole year. What an amazing investment. So let's do that. Let's do that.
Do you guys do any type of volunteer or like if somebody wanted to like let's say maybe they don't have the monetary means at the moment to really like invest what they would like to, but they but they would like to maybe participate in some other way. Is there other ways that people can participate?
I would say like the most, because the communities have been identified.
Right. Everything's already kind of set up.
You have the solutions.
Yeah.
You have the local partner on the ground. But actually what we need, so here's what I love. Micah and Sarah just heard about this. They've been living in New York, you said, for a decade. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. We were founded in New York. Like we had a huge, massive presence in New York. And what this tells me is there's still so much opportunity to get the word out. Get it out in your schools, get it out in your family, get it out in your community. If you wanted to have an impact,
That's great.
Be like, hey, did you know that 700 million people in the world don't have access to clean and safe water? Totally solvable. Multiple impacts all rolled into one. Like that in and of itself, say it at your church, say it in your community. Again, that would be amazing. And that would have a huge impact for what we need in the world today, truly.
Do you believe that it's possible for us to ever get to a place where everyone has clean water? Like we've done everything we possibly can, and now everybody actually has clean water, and it's like everybody is good in the world. Like, is that possible? Is there like, or is it just got kind of like a continuous, like forever kind of process? It's kind of like solving world hunger kind of a thing. Where it's like, is it possible to ever get to the place where everybody is running like we run here?
Yeah. I love that question. I would absolutely say basic access totally and completely possible. If we can go look for water on Mars, I'm pretty sure that we can try to figure out a way to get clean and safe drinking water to every person here on Earth. I would say again, because it's solvable. We know where it is. It's totally possible to bring it. I think part of it, again, I think what is a challenge for us, and part of what we're waking up thinking every day, is how do you build a movement? How do you raise awareness? How do you invite people into it? And that's part of why our model is so important to us, is because we want the lowest barrier of entry for someone to come in. And so if the question was, How is the money spent? We want to be radically transparent with that. I
Mm.
don't want any of my money going to anything operationally. Okay, we've got to solve for that. We want to create that barrier to entry as low as possible. I absolutely think that I actually totally and completely think in our lifetime it's possible. Will it look completely like how it does, say, for us?
Sure.
In why I'm in DC and you're in New York? No, probably not. Can you have access to clean water that doesn't make you and your family sick? Absolutely. In our lifetime, totally and completely. We just would love to speed that up. We would
course.
love to get there a lot quicker than the trajectory. But out of encouragement, even for your listeners, I think when Charity Water started, it was like 1 in 6 people didn't have access to clean and safe water, and now it's 1 in 10. Like it is decreasing. It's decreased since we started. It's now closer to 700 million. We've tackled like a 35th of the problem. Because we've reached 20 million people just at Charity Water with clean and safe drinking water.
Wow.
20.2 million to be exact. But there's still so much more to do. And so yes, Micah, I do think it's possible. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was just curious about that. If like you guys had a number that it's like, if we just had this number come in, then we would be able to just do it all and solve it and just kind of like get after it. And so I was curious about like if that was even a possibility, or if this was kind of like just going to be the long haul, but not, there's going to be a process. But I think the more and more people are aware of it, and the more, because like I've been guilty of this. It's like when I was like, I only have $5 to even like give, like, I don't think that's going to move the needle. But if you think about 1 million people that just give $5, I know you've heard this analogy and it's so cliche, but it's so true. It's like, if everybody really had that mentality of like, I am a part of a big movement and a big purpose here, that's really going to go a long way. And so like the fact that $40 can actually, what was it for a person for a full year?
Yeah.
Where did that calculation come out?
That
How
calculation.
did you know that?
Yeah, that comes from the amount of people that we reach in a year and the amount of money it takes to get there. And so that is our calculation, literally based on our metrics.
Wow.
How do you choose the locations that you go into?
Yeah, so we have a variety of metrics that we look at. Again, we're only focused on rural. We're only focused on the places where we can invest, where the infrastructure and the communities are dialed in to be able to they want it. It's something that they want to be a part of. There's
Sure.
a structure that works to do that.
Yeah.
And so we look at a variety of factors in choosing that. And again, making sure it's going to be the most efficient and effective use of our dollars as we're deploying them. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That the community would have to be on board. I want to be involved in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool. Do you have any? I'm putting you on the spot, so if not, that's okay. But I would love. Do you have any like stories of have you been on the ground any of these places? I would like stories of people you've met, maybe how someone's life was impacted. I mean, you spoke broadly how it's like it's school, it's safety, it's it's health, it's all of these basic things that we can take for granted in America. But I would love any like real life story that you can remember from.
Absolutely. I spent a good part of July of last summer in Ethiopia, which has had this will be interesting sort of point of view, which has had a civil war in the area in Tigray, which is where we were. And so one of the things as we were going into the places where we work, our partners on the ground were explaining, as a part of a war tactic, the first thing that people would do when they would go in to take a community down was attack their water, because it was such a part of hope and human flourishing. So, we worked with partners on the ground who, even in the midst of war, were going into communities, still working to bring water, still working to fix the wells. And again, these are communities, I think, especially where there's been a lot of extreme violence. So I sat down because as a woman president, And because water is such an impactful place for women, when I go into the communities, I spent a good bit of time with the women. And this had been a community that had lost water and then had water turned back on. And this, again, it's a little bit what I've already said before, which was so meaningful to me. But she said, water is hope. There's so much that my community has been through. And again, when you're talking about war, you're talking about death, you're talking about sexual assault, you're talking about a true level of trauma. And she just was saying, the one thing that is giving me hope right now is this just most basic need of water. It's allowing us to return to a part of our lives of normalcy, which is now we're getting school back and my daughter can go to school. We can stay in the community. Again, it's health, it's education, it's safety. And so I would say, just again, you're going into a space where there's been so much trauma and so much damage and so much violence. And to hear the thing that gives me hope right now is clean water, for all the reasons and all the impacts that it has, is super meaningful to me. And I think, again, coming from my background in violence against women and children, to see such a ray of hope. And that's in a very extreme space. But it's what we hear day in and day out is this is hope. This is hope for my future. I get to go to school. Some of the places, especially where there's schools, we do have some projects that is both providing toilets so kids can stay in school, particularly girls, for monthly cycles. Like there's a lot of things around water that create lifetime opportunities that otherwise, again, 200 million hours today of women and girls will spend just in getting water. Yeah. So there's a lot of stories like that.
Yeah. Wow. I never even thought about toilets.
Oh,
that's huge.
Yeah. It's part of a broader, there's space called WASH, which is like water and sanitation. And so that's where toilets would fit in there. And some of our projects focus on that as well.
So what made you decide to make the jump from the organization you were at to Charity Water?
So I was with IJM for a long time, about 16 years prior to joining Charity Water. And, it's an amazing organization and really with amazing people and amazing work. And it was when you have you've spent your time and you're like, I just really feel this call. And I also had an amazing leadership team. So I was by the time I left, I was the president of North America for IJM, had an amazing leadership team. And I just felt like it was time to transition into something new. I didn't know exactly what that was. And so I spent some time consulting with other nonprofits, and I love it. I love that very much. I'm on a couple boards. And then I had known about Charity Water for a while, and Scott reached out, and Scott, again, is a very dynamic founder, visionary, but he would tell you his love is not operationally running an organization. And so we had there's probably about 6 months where we had conversations, because I was not looking I had been part of an organization with a rich culture and deep relationships. I wasn't looking to just jump right into that. And I think this was the first time Charity Water had created this role. And so I think Scott was also more than happy to talk for 6 months before just jumping right into it. And so again, for me, it's all about what are the people like, and is the mission worthy? And this mission is so worthy and so impactful. So it was an easy transition. Yeah,
for sure. When you were saying you were, with International Justice Mission for 16 years, I think today, especially young people, I'm still young-ish, I would say, but I think people who are starting their careers desperately want to do something that is impactful and worthwhile. I think more than ever, young people want to be significant. They want to make a difference. So when you said you worked but when you left, you were the head of North America. So where did you start? Did you climb the ladder there? I would love to hear kind of your career trajectory being there.
When I started as a fundraiser in Texas, and I was working with donors. And I loved that work. I actually had done that for the University of Texas for 5 years, had been in marketing before that, had studied advertising in graduate school and had been a journalist undergrad. And so I loved connecting and being able to communicate complex issues and connecting that to donor passions and building a bridge in between. And so that was quite wonderful. And I loved working for the University of Texas. Anyway, I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
But I had been a donor to IJM. And so I thought, if I could use this gift for any organization, I think right now I'd love to use it at this organization. And so I made that transition in. And then I would say over time was invited and asked to come lead the fundraising team and then lead the broader sort of mobilization and government engagement and brand and communications, and then doing that globally, and then running operations, from HR to finance, the advocacy and mobilization work in North America. So but that's how I started.
Yeah. I just think that's so inspiring because it is so easy to, when you see someone who's accomplished a certain level of whatever it may be, to be like, that, all you see is that. You don't see the 16 years that were put in at the beginning. And I think that if you have a heart for something, you have a passion for something, you feel a purpose in pursuing something, like it's rarely going to be a quick thing. There's going to be you're going to take on different roles. There's going to be different elements to your growth in whatever it is you're doing. And I just think to hear your story from just starting as a fundraiser to what you're doing now, I think that's really, really inspiring.
And I say, Sarah, just my biggest impact. So again, I would want to say this as an encouragement to your listeners. I think the biggest impact I have are the people, and I've had a chance to do some amazing things strategically that have had really massive impact for very vulnerable people. I do think sort of the biggest generational impact I will have is going to be how I engage with people who I directly work with. So I would say my direct reports, my peers, I'm certainly my own children, but do people feel seen and known and cared for? Have I been a good steward of their talents in front of me? And I think that makes a difference for how they go home and engage with their kids at the dinner table. And so I've had a real flip in sort of what does it mean to have impact in the world. I worked it. There are a few people who will have the experience to work in the type of impactful organizations I will have. I will say I think the biggest generational impact I will have for multiple generations is how I engage with people one-on-one. Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's good for anybody because I think that's absolutely true. Because people don't necessarily remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. And so I do think that there's a level of impact that really does happen and when somebody's impacted you to a deep degree, it's typically because they spent time with you and they gave their time. And I think that is that's where that generational comes from.
I think that's also an encouragement, for if someone is working maybe in a field that they don't feel is their purpose, where it's like, okay, but what can I do outside of this that feels impactful for me? There are small, I worked many jobs that when we were performing and even when we were in transition of trying to figure out what to do next, where I was like, this is not my passion. This is not my purpose. This is simply just to pay the bills. And that can feel very draining if you're in a season where that's the kind of work that you have to do. But when you think about how you interact with people, I would think about how I interacted with people, even whether it was at these jobs or outside these jobs, kind of being like the ministry that I was in at that time. Being like, but how can I be how can I make this person who I'm working with feel good about what they're doing, even if I don't care so much about what we're doing, or even if it's out on the street in New York City, I'm riding on the subway and I like someone's shoes and I tell them that I love the shoes that they picked out, something as simple as that, where they go home and they're like, someone random complimented my shoes on the subway, you know? So it's like, I
Right.
think that's an encouragement for people, no matter what they're doing, whether they're in a career they're super excited about or whether they haven't found that thing yet. They're so, as humans, our interactions with one another are so important.
Yeah.
And especially now that we have an 8-month-old baby. So
Yes.
that puts another thing kind of in the forefront of our minds of like, wow, I can really, this is my main impact right here, really.
Absolutely. And again, the reason I believe that is because this means it's true for everyone. It's true for the woman in Uganda who's working in the field. It's true for
Yes.
the hedge fund manager in New York City. It's true for the stay-at-home parent who's, taking care of a young child. This is true, like how you are engaging. And it's not just always about like it's not just because I'm, nice. I mean, like, am I present? Am I being
Right.
Yeah.
truthful?
Yep.
Again, are you in a role that's actually not a great gifting for what you're amazing at? And that's not a gift if I keep you in that role. Are we building strategy that actually makes a difference together? So much of that is about truth and presence. And you can do that anywhere. And so that's why I think impact in the world has to be true for everyone in the same way. And so anyway, that's the lens through which I look at impact now.
Absolutely.
That's so great.
I love that because that means anyone
No
can,
one's
can take,
insignificant.
Exactly. No one is insignificant.
Exactly. And I also think that's biblically true.
Of course.
Absolutely.
One body, many parts, and each part where God intended it to be. And that's that part of that verse in Corinthians that I do love, which is like where God intended it to be. And so in terms of impact, and again, I'm the president of one of like the most impactful organizations in the world. And I am telling you, I do think like human to human impact is what will be the biggest, my biggest impact generationally.
Yeah, for sure. And it is the more like successful people who we talk to and hear on podcasts, that's just such a common sentiment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I've done all this other stuff and have all this impact over here, but like my kids.
Yeah.
Or like the people I develop at work or whatever it may be. That's such a common a common thing, which is just so powerful. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Melissa. This was so insightful. I'm so excited to be able to just bring more awareness to Charity Water. How can people connect? Is it website? Is there Instagram? What's the best way for people to learn more?
Go to charitywater.org. I would absolutely check it out, learn more about the model. Again, if you are looking to make a difference in the world, I think especially as foreign aid has shifted globally, not just in the US, but other donor governments have shifted. Like there is like one of the biggest issues is water. One of the most solvable is water. Go to charitywater.org and check it out. And then if you're ever in the Nashville area, we actually have something called our Experience Lab where you get to go in person. You'll have a VR experience. We have a water walk room where it's like 90 degrees and you get to carry these jerry cans of water on a multi-directional treadmill just to really immerse yourself in the experience. It's the Experience Lab. If you're ever in the Nashville area, you should absolutely check it out in person. And if not, go to charitywater.org. And you'll get to learn all about the work we do and how we do it.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I was just in Nashville twice and I'm sad I didn't know about it before
next
that.
time we'll give you a tour. Seriously, Mike and Sarah, we will absolutely give you a special tour. We'd love to have you.
That
Okay,
sounds
that actually sounds
unbelievable. His sister lives like right outside of Nashville.
Yeah.
So
next time we visit,
Yeah.
we'll let you know, and because that sounds really fun.
yes,
It
it
would
does.
be really great.
A really cool, a very like I think perspective type experience,
Yes.
and so I love those type of things. I think just gaining new perspective on life is where all the growth is, and where we can become more and more empathetic and I think human, to be honest.
More like Jesus as
Yeah,
well.
more
I
like
think.
Jesus for sure, for sure. Because we only have our perspective of the life that we have currently lived,
Yeah.
and the experiences that we have done. So, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, guys, please check out charitywater.org
linked-
if you are.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Especially if you're somebody who's just like I have the desire to give and just don't know where. I'm telling you, we've been giving for months now. Ever since we found out about it, we've been giving, and it is it is such a great cause. So thank you so much for your time, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you both. It's really good to be with you guys.
As always, like, subscribe, share this to somebody. It just really does help out the algorithm and help out the show. You know, we do this for you guys, and we do this for people that are that need to hear these things, and we're
Be
always
encouraged.
and be encouraged. Yeah. So, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.